Well, good Monday morning to you. Welcome to our Monday morning live edition of the Doctor's Nutrition Show. I'm your host, Jim Tabor, along with Doctors Jim and Janine Fox of Doctor's Nutrition, located on the Callan-Lorraine Road in Gulfport, south of Pass Road. We do this every Monday morning. It is a live show, and what we do is we talk about things regarding your health and how to live a healthier lifestyle, and we invite you to call in and ask questions at 896-0713 or 1-800-349-0713. Our phone lines are open to you. Well, this morning we decided to do something regarding questions, but frequently asked questions that y'all get in all the time.
Yep, we could probably have 10 shows on that, but we just picked some of the we just picked a few that we hear a lot. I mean, but we get questions. Of course, that's what we do all day is answer questions.
Right.
And so but there's some that you hear like constantly. So we thought we would do some of the questions that we hear all the time, and that way more people could hear the answers.
There you go. And if you have a question, 896-0713 or 800-349-0713. As I mentioned, you can call in and ask. But I know one of the top ones here that you have written down, what do you have for energy?
Right. That's what that is probably all day, every day.
Yeah.
Because so many people have fatigue. It is such a vague symptom, and that's what we always tell them.
Was it common because of the weather that we have? I mean, it's always so hot, and everybody just goes out and says, "Oh, I'm just totally drained. This heat and everything."
That's different.
There's
that too, but that is probably not the reason why most people are tired.
Really?
Oh no.
Okay.
I'd say the biggest thing that we've seen in the past few years, of course, been stress. Stress is probably the number one thing, and of course everybody says, "Well, I'm not stressed," and I'm asking, what rock do you live under? Because everybody's stressed, everybody. And even if you don't know it or don't think you're stressed, if you just kind of watch the price of gasoline go up, watch the price of food go up, that's a little stressful. So there's so many things that happen to us. And of course, stress causes increased cortisol, a stress hormone, and eventually the adrenals just get to where they say, hey, okay, dude, you're on your own. I've had enough. And that's when we start seeing that just chronic, fatigue,
now,
dragging.
We definitely, we have someone come in with, I am so tired and, what do you got for that? I always say the best thing to do is to do the lab work.
Yeah.
And we're not just saying that to do lab work. We're saying it because how do you know which thing is causing it and what is happening if you don't do the lab work? Now, the things on the expanded panel kind of covers most of the things that will cover fatigue. And the things that it shows that would make a difference in fatigue. It looks to see if you're anemic. Anemia definitely makes fatigue. Anemia can have different reasons, but then again, you look at the rest of it and you kind of point to maybe why. It can be an iron deficiency, a B12 deficiency, things like that. There is no doubt a B12 deficiency. Huge amount, and we see so much B12 deficiency, and I mean a really low B12 on a lot of people.
Really do.
And folic acid deficiency can make you tired. You also, vitamin D deficiency can make you tired, and that's all checked on our expanded panel. And then of course thyroid. Now everybody always thinks it's their thyroid, and sometimes it is, but a lot of people come in and say, oh, it's got to be my thyroid.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes it is and sometimes it's not, but that's why you check it, because you never want to just take something for thyroid if it's not the problem. And stress hormone that he talks about, that is checked. There's also something that we see, and definitely stress does affect this also, is something called DHEA. DHEA is a hormone made in your adrenal glands. And they call it the aging hormone because the older you get, the lower it goes. And then the lower it goes, the older you get.
So that's why I'm on it.
Yes. So, and DHEA makes if it's real low, no energy. The people say, oh my God, I just get up in the morning and can't even go. A lot of times that's DHEA problems. So there are so many things that can make fatigue. Actually, you see when people are eating wrong and eating too much sugar, you take people off of sugar and, we see so many people that are pre-diabetic, diabetic, and then you change their diets, it helps their energy. So energy is such a broad topic that there could be so many different things.
Typically, and a lot of times there's more than one. I mean,
exactly.
That's kind of the irony of the thing is, they'll get focused on one thing, like it's got to be my thyroid or whatever, and sure enough, it might be. But then there's also some other issues too. Maybe the low B12, maybe a little bit of anemia, and we see an awful lot of anemia now for, people that just either it's probably the diet. I mean,
Yeah,
go back to
diet's
it.
a big thing.
Well, you mentioned sugar, and people, they drink these energy drinks and everything like that, and of course they're high in sugar and caffeine and everything. But then
A lot of caffeine.
But once you come down
Once
off of it,
exactly. When you come down off of them,
that's when
it's real bad.
that's when your energy goes.
And then sometimes we'll add to the expanded panel hormones because it depends on what's going on with the person.
Right.
On whether we think, and that's why you talk to us before we decide which panel is best for you. But a lot of times it can be hormonal, especially with women just hitting the age where they're not sure if they're starting menopause or not. There's no doubt low testosterone can actually make energy low, but then that a lot of times is caused by pre-diabetes and diabetes. So I mean, that's why we do the whole panel, and it gives you a full picture of what's going on. And that is no question the best way to get what is best for your energy. Otherwise, you're just kind of taking something and guessing, which,
And that's what a lot of people will do. They'll say, "Oh, I need some vitamins. I need this," and they'll go to the big box stores and they'll buy them.
Yep.
And whenever, like you said,
Right.
it could be a different underlying condition, and that's why you get blood work
Now,
done.
one of the worst things to do, and I see this a lot, is to go out. Everybody remembers the old commercials, like I think when I was young.
Geritol.
Yes, saying, "Oh, you need energy. You probably have iron poor blood."
Iron poor, tired
And
blood.
so they just go out and say, "Oh, I don't have any energy. I'm going to take some iron." It's the worst thing you can do, especially women after menopause and men. Most of the time are not iron deficient. Now you get those exceptions. Again, we see people with iron overload because they went out and taken iron because they're tired and because they remember that commercial. So
Yeah.
the people out there watching, do not just go take iron. Iron is one of those nutrients you do not just go take.
Well, and a lot of people say, well, what's wrong with taking iron? Well, okay, do you take antioxidants? Well, yeah. Okay, you're also putting in the greatest oxidating agent we have, iron. Yeah, have you ever seen, look at, if you've got an old truck or something and the bumper's rusty, iron oxide.
Yeah.
So, okay, there's iron. It rusts. And yeah, it'll make us rust on the inside, so to speak, just because of oxidation.
Now, if you need it, that's a different
great
story
stuff,
because you need
different
it to
story.
build blood. But you do not want an excess of iron, and we see a lot of people with excessive iron because they're taking it because they were tired and they remember that commercial back years ago.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. Okay, we're talking about the most frequently asked questions at Doctor's Nutrition this morning. If you have a question, our phone lines are open at 896-0713 or 800-349-0713. We've got several more to get to, so we'll
Might not get through them today.
might not get through them today. But anyway, we're going to take a break and we'll be right back. And welcome back to this morning's live show, 896-0713 or 800-349-0713. Our phone lines are open for whatever question you might have. We're looking at frequently asked questions this morning. I know a lot of people probably wonder, especially those who like to work out or something like that, how much protein do I need in a day?
It depends. All right, we have to preface it, but if you're a normal weight, I'll say normal weight, and then normally take your body weight. If it's 150, divided by 2 or 2.2 gives you the kilos, and that's about how many grams of protein you need per day for the lean muscle mass and so on.
Yeah, that's kind of your minimal.
Yeah.
If you're building muscle, you can go a little higher, but I've seen some people do way too much protein. I've seen people that were 120 pounds and they were told they need 200 grams a day. That is way too much. Right. So that's the thing is you just kind of look at for your body what it is. We can always help you if you have that question. But protein is so important. People don't realize a protein deficiency will make weight gain. So with some of the problems that not getting enough protein, it makes hair loss. And it definitely makes muscle wasting. So that is one of the things. And as people age, we do see a lot of the people as they mature, they stop eating as much protein. So you want to make sure you get adequate protein.
I got on my phone and I had calculated mine real quick.
Yeah.
194 pounds divided by 2.2 comes out to 88.18.
Yeah.
Okay.
But like I said, we say normal weight, even if you're a little overweight. I mean, but when you're talking about if somebody's 400 or 500 pounds, they don't want to go to 250 grams just because so it does depend. And then the other exception, kidney patients.
Right.
Kidney patients should not have that much protein. So I did want to tell you that. So.
And that's something you need to know if you're in, if you're in any of if your kidneys are starting to slow down, and that shows up on your lab work. Now, ask your doc to tell you because a lot of times they don't tell them until it gets really bad. But you should know that, and if you know that you're in stage 1 or 2, where you just want to limit your protein. You got to have some protein.
Yeah,
gotta
you
have
don't
a
want to go
variety of
none,
protein.
but you just don't want as much as we're talking
Right.
about.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
Another question frequently asked is, I've tried everything I can and can't lose weight. What do I do now?
Okay, unfortunately, we'll always tell you to go back to the step one, which you mentioned earlier about the energy, and that's to do some lab work, because we've got to find out what's wrong. Most of the time, and I could probably say this and get by with it, say most of the time it's a sugar handling problem.
Yep.
It's because you're getting too many carbohydrates, not enough fats and proteins, normally. And everybody says, well, I don't eat that much. Okay. Let's take a diary, let's take a little pad and write down everything you put in your mouth and do that for a week. And then let's sit down and talk. And we'll show you that, okay, you're getting way too many carbs. And if you've got a sugar handling problem, pre-diabetes, some of those things, or insulin resistance, then bingo, you're starting to.
And even if someone doesn't have actually problems on lab work on sugar handling, many around here do. I would
Yes.
say 70, 80%. I'm
yeah.
serious. We see a lot.
Yeah.
I don't, but if I eat too many carbs, I gain weight.
Yeah.
So but I show no problems with handling sugar on lab work, but yet if I eat too many carbs and sugar, I would probably then have a sugar handling problem. So it's kind of like, that is definitely, and it is what we tell people every day, our real answer is there is no magic pill. It is a lifestyle change. There are things that help according to what your issues are. So that's why we do the weight loss panel, which is the same as our expanded panel. And we look to see if there's any underlying problems that need to be fixed first, because if you don't fix underlying problems, it makes it harder to lose weight. But it's always going to take diet change too. There is not a magic pill that I've ever
Well, I was
seen.
going to say, I mean, you see in the stores and things that these fat burners.
Yeah.
That people.
And we have a new fat burner called the Thermogenic Weight Management.
Something like
Actually, we're on back order right now on it, but that is not one of the stimulants, and it has seemed to help. Again, help.
It helps. If
But
you're doing
again-
the other things right too. That's the key. You have to be doing the diet and everything right too.
Right.
Otherwise
So you
it's not
can't
gonna work.
just, there is no magic pill. There is not.
You know-
There's things that can help, and that's what we're there for, is to help people figure out what they might need for them individually and how to change the diet
Right.
and to see if there's any underlying problems that is keeping them from losing weight.
And those aren't possible.
Yes.
But at the same time, we go back and it's
Well, the stress hormone, if that's high, it
Oh,
is
yeah.
hard to lose weight.
forget
Really?
it.
It is.
Yeah.
And we have things that lower stress hormone.
Yeah.
So that's what you got to look at is, that stress hormone, one of the things is it actually makes your sugar go up.
Yeah.
Actually, high cortisol makes high blood pressure, it makes high sugar, it makes weight gain, it makes fatigue, it makes probably every question we get.
Yep.
But it's not always the issue, so you got to check and see what's going on.
Okay. Another frequently asked question: what do you have for reflux?
Probably our go-to is, and this is the one thing that we probably sell the most and start people on, and it's called Alzyme. It's a broad spectrum, it's sort of like the garbage disposal kind of enzyme package. So whatever you eat, it's got something in there to help digest it. And that's probably number one thing that we sell that'll help with that. And then also you have to go back and look at, okay, what are you eating that's causing the problem? Because that's a lot of times it's what the person's eating. And back to the carb thing, a lot of high carbohydrate stuff, especially the highly refined carbohydrates, they will cause reflux.
Well, you see these ads all the time about things that you can buy for reflux or,
Right.
or whatever, or you sit there with a thing of this, the Tums or whatever by
Right.
if you take too much of that stuff, can it be detrimental to you?
Well, yeah, you don't want you have a lot of things that suppress acid. You have acid in your stomach for a reason.
Right.
And actually, acid's there to help digest your food, but it's also there to kill things you breathe in. So they've definitely linked people that take a lot of acid reducers to getting more infections.
Really?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of research
Wow.
out there about it. So it's not something you just want to do all the time. Now, there's certain conditions where the doctor might put you on it, and that's one thing, but there's a lot of things you can do naturally. Now, another thing we tell people, if you've done the digestive enzymes, you've changed your diet, food allergies. There is no question a food that your body does not respond well to can make reflux. And now that test is a little expensive. It's like $450.
Yeah.
But we can do that. And I have had people that they follow when nothing has worked. I've had people that the medicines from the doctor didn't work, our enzymes didn't work, nothing worked. and they did the food allergy test, and if they follow it, it gets rid of their reflux.
Wow.
I just had a friend. He's in Florida, and he's always calling, and typical. I'm doing everything you tell me to do, and I don't lose a damn ounce, And his name's Desmond. And I said, Desmond, let's do the food allergy test. Oh, Doc, I'm eating really good. I'm eating really good. Did the food allergy test. Everything that he's eating, he's allergic to it. He changed his diet completely. I get emails from him almost every day now. I lost another 5 pounds.
It makes weight loss too. It helps reflux, but it does help weight loss to get off the foods you have a problem with.
Yeah.
Wow.
No doubt.
Wow. Yeah. All right. Well, we're taking your phone calls. We got a question someone called in. We'll be answering that in just a moment. 896-0713 or 800-349-0713. We'll answer that question and come back with the special of the week in just a moment. And welcome back to our final segment this morning. A question called in: if you eat a lot of carbs and sugar and you never gain a lot of weight, what could be the cause of that, behind that?
That's genetics.
Yeah, that's genetics.
I was going to say tapeworm.
No.
My mom used to tell us, you eat everything, you must have a tapeworm.
Yeah.
Well, genetics a lot of people are lucky that they have the genetics where they just don't gain weight. It does not necessarily mean that you're healthy.
Right.
We have a lot of people that come in that are actually not even very old, skinny men that have had heart attacks because they do eat a lot of sugar and carbs, and their triglycerides are off the charts, and their lab work isn't necessarily good just because they're not overweight. So weight is not the only factor on health, although there's no doubt gaining lots of weight affects your health.
No doubt about that.
Okay. So, but usually it's genetics. I always say if they can find the gene that does that, and what we normally see on lab work with the people like that, their insulin don't spike up. They even will sometimes be showed low on insulin because insulin is one of the keys to not gaining weight. If their body doesn't overproduce insulin until it eats, it definitely helps with weight control, but there's not many like that.
No.
I can say there ain't many people out there like that, but there are some.
Genetically, we'd look at it and say that, those people probably 10,000 years ago wouldn't have survived. They couldn't store fat. So, tough. Yeah.
Okay.
Bad.
Let's go ahead and look at this week's special and what they have to offer. Speaking of our protein a while ago.
Protein, right. Everybody's got to have protein, and we know our whey protein is just a good source of protein that if you can add to your diet and make a little sugar or something.
Yeah, people are always asking about protein, so that's one of the ones we use, and it does taste really good, I think, and it is sweetened with stevia, so it does not have added sugar, and it does not have, artificial sweeteners. So that's one of the things I tell people to stay away from when they actually buy proteins is don't buy artificial sweeteners and don't buy something loaded with sugar.
Right.
So we just thought we'd put that on sale because it kind of is a broad spectrum thing that just about anybody can do.
Okay. Another question called in: what's the difference between table salt and Morton's light salt? Typically,
you have regular salt is sodium chloride.
Yeah.
And typically, when you look at the light salts, now I'm not familiar.
We're not really sure what that specific brand.
But typically, when you look at the light salts, you pick them up and look at the ingredients, and it's potassium, a lot of potassium in it, rather than the sodium, because the sodium.
Yeah, I know that those no salt ones are potassium.
Yeah.
And if you have high potassium, you do not want to use those products. So just really.
Now y'all sell a lot of the Himalayan.
We have the Himalayan salt.
Yeah.
We do the Himalayan salt, the sea salt.
Yeah, I do the sea salt.
Yeah, I like Himalayan.
Himalayan's good. It's got a lot of different minerals in it. So, a lot of the trace elements and stuff that we're always trying to get.
Now, one of the things that's not in like your Himalayan or sea salt is enough iodine.
True.
And table salt, that is one of the things with table salt, it has been iodized because iodine is a very deficient mineral in the United States.
Yeah.
Well, actually in a lot of countries. So that's why they iodize salt, because you need more iodine than what you normally get in your diet. So that is something, some people supplement iodine if they don't do table salt.
Right. And it's not a bad idea, because even us living here on the coast and a lot of seafood availability, a lot of people just don't eat it for some reason.
Yeah.
And
now,
they don't get
iodine. If you eat seafood
iodine.
constantly, you're probably going to get some iodine.
Right.
And if you eat seaweed, you get a lot of iodine.
Yeah.
But that's just not probably South Mississippi diet to eat seaweed.
No,
that's not normally.
Unless you're eating with sushi.
Now you have some people that do
And
eat it a
some do,
lot,
yeah.
and it is actually seaweed's really good for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you recommend for ED?
We get this one all the time. The first thing I always tell the guys that come in with that particular issue is, that's your first sign that you got some sort of circulatory problem. You've got to understand that right off the top. And there's things you can do. One of the biggies that we use is the amino flow. We've talked about that, I think, in other shows in the past. And what it is it's a group of amino acids specifically designed to give you the nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is a vasodilator, and the artery that feeds the penis is very small. So it's very, acutely affected when you have it if it doesn't dilate like it's supposed to. So that's probably one of the first things we do.
Yep.
Can be some low testosterone. It's not a bad idea to check.
And the DHEA that we mentioned earlier.
Right.
DHEA is a precursor, the one that we called the aging hormone. It is a precursor to testosterone.
Right.
And DHEA plays a huge role in that as well. And it also in desire. So
Yes.
that does make a difference. So definitely checking the hormones, you would know if that was an issue, but it's not always the issue.
No, you always got to, and and this always kind of freaks everybody out, but you got to go back to the diet thing again, because sugar can cause that problem too. I mean,
Right.
the excess sugar, it tends to cause that problem. Insulin causes a lot of problems as far as insulin signaling because of some of the issues with blood flow, et cetera, making testosterone, for instance. That's why we have an epidemic now of low testosterone.
We do have an epidemic of low testosterone
Wow.
in men. We really do.
How is SPM different than fish oil, and do I need both?
Well, that's a deep subject. Actually, you could do both. Okay, SPM is a metabolite from something that your body normally metabolizes from the omega-3 fish oil, makes it into the resolvins, myrisins, and so on. That is the SPMs. Do you need both? It's not a bad idea, because if we know that the American diet is deficient in
Right.
omega-3s anyhow, so yeah, it's a good idea to have that, because what we're doing with the SPM is we're just making sure that your body has those resolvins to reduce that inflammation. Our body can make them if it has enough omega-3s, but we don't know how long it'll make, and as we get more mature,
It actually
we don't
stops
make as
making
much,
it.
right.
The longer you actually, the older
Right.
you get, the less SPMs you make. And SPM, they do take omega-3s in a lab, use an enzyme, convert it into SPM.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how it's gotten. Now, on our product, Doctor's Nutrition SPM, it still has a little bit of the EPA DHA that's in omega-3s
Omega-3s.
because of a patent held by another company that is the only one that can have the pure SPMs, or as far as I know, that is part of the patent where they can have the pure SPM without omega-3 left in it, and we do have that as well, because that's actually Metagenics, and it has 0 omega-3 left. It's pure SPM. And it is a little stronger per capsule in SPM than ours, but ours does have a little bit of that, but usually not enough. If you're trying to help brain function, you want higher DHA, which is your omega-3. So they both have things, and to lower triglycerides. SPM, as far as I know, doesn't really lower the
No,
triglycerides, but your EPA does.
Yeah, that's
So-
that's what probably one of
Yeah.
the biggies is that EPA when it comes to triglycerides.
Right.
Yeah.
And
So depending on the person, and that's kind of what we always, because I have a lot of people I put on both.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, real quick, are there any health benefits to eating sea moss?
A lot of people do. As I've seen all sorts of claims for it. If you actually go to PubMed and start searching, not a lot of really hardcore science that I'd want to hang my hat on, but
Yeah.
can
Okay.
be.
Anyway, and what are we talking about next week?
Next week, we're going to talk about dosing of vitamins and the optimal dosing, because we get those questions constantly on how much
much should I
vitamin C,
take?
how much vitamin D,
Yeah.
how much zinc, how much. So we're going to go through a lot of the nutrients and tell how much is optimal.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us this morning, and we'll see you again next Monday morning at 9 o'clock. Have yourself a wonderful week, and take care. We'll see you then.
For more information on highlighting your business and services on Healthy Living South Mississippi, contact Jim Tabor at 896-1313.